Mike,
Yes.
what's going on, man?
Not much.
Feeling good?
I am always.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, man. So let's just jump right into the show. And today I want to talk about what I call the DC problem. For all these years now, we've been watching DC put out their movies, and it's been, let's just say, spotty to say the least. Because with the recent news that Michael Keaton might be coming back to play Batman, I just decided, I'm like, yo, listen, this is kind of absurd. I know people are liking it, but I'm like, listen, we haven't even had Pattinson play Batman yet, and why we're already thinking about Keaton, and I've already heard a rumor that they want to try to get Bale to come back, and I'm like, all right, now we're getting to the point of just beyond ridiculousness. So with that, I want to take this time and not spend too much, but go through each DC movie and kind of look at each film and say, okay, well, this is where they had a plan and they know what's going on. And then there are other times when you're just like, what the hell is this? This is a mess. This makes no sense. It's a joke.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because that's how spotty they've been.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I root for them. I want them to do good, but, they mess it up. I think I know why, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, it's like I always say, they have the biggest superheroes, but they just don't know how to deal with it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like everyone talks about Iron Man, and everyone loves Iron Man and Thor and Captain America. I love those guys, but they are not Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. They're just not. Those guys are on another class level of just notoriety.
Yeah. No, they're like the originals.
Of course, yeah, the OGs. All right, so let's start off with the very first one that broke out the DCEU, the DC Expanded Universe. 2013, Man of Steel, Henry Cavill. What is your general impression of that film?
I liked it. I liked that movie a lot, actually, when it came out. I know a lot of Superman fans hate that movie.
Yes, weirdly.
Well, I guess if they're fans of the comic book, he's murdering people at the end of that movie, and he's like destroying the.
But look why though. See, people always say that. I'm glad you brought that up. They always say that. But look at the circumstance that they put him in of why he had to do the things he did. That's why I think it's a bit of a flawed Superman.
Right. Well, that's how it would be. If they were trying to, when they made that movie, they actually brought Christopher Nolan on as like a consultant.
Oh, that's right.
Because they wanted to do the same thing they kind of did with Batman, where they, grounded it in reality as much as
Gritty,
they could. And I like that movie. I
love it.
I understand why people don't like it, but I thought it was really good. And I like him as Superman. I don't like the way he plays him sometimes. He's kind of like a sad sap Superman,
like emo Superman a little bit.
I don't know. I don't know about emo, but he. It's like a burden. Everything he does is a burden. He's not heroic, in those movies.
Yeah.
But I like that movie. I don't have that comic book fan thing, so I can look at it, I feel, more objectively.
I agree. I'm the same way, where I have a knowledge of the comic books. I enjoyed the comic books, but I'm not like a hardcore comic person. Right. Where I can I'm a little bit more lenient with the lore.
And like I said, I understand why people don't like it. You know what I mean?
Zack Snyder probably too.
I like Zack Snyder.
Me too.
I mean, he's not the best or anything, but he's another one I really root for. And that's, this whole DC thing, he was supposed to, that was his thing and his plan. They put him in charge. He was basically like the Kevin Feige of the DC universe.
Absolutely.
And directing movies, you know what I mean? Like, not just being in charge of the whole thing.
True.
But also making the movies. And his plan was to follow, he had a plan for this, from what I understand.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Things I've read. And he wanted to do a Superman sequel, which led into Batman and Superman, which led into like a 2-part Justice League movie. And I'm not sure where they were fitting in like the Wonder Womans and all those into that whole thing, but that was like his grand plan. And Warner Brothers, just they jumped in, they panicked again. They're playing catch up to the Marvel, thing.
Absolutely.
They're almost 10 years behind them. There were like 10 movies behind them. And they should have just took their time, but they really wanted to get in on it while it was hot, which it still is,
Yeah, I agree with that. They rushed it.
They absolutely did. They panicked and they took control over it. And I hate that. I don't care who the director is, whether how much I like him or dislike him. Well, maybe,
Mostly.
Yes. But if a studio, just let them do their work. You hired them to do something. If they want to jump in and play like, movie by committee, They should just hire like a hack director. Don't hire
They
somebody
want
that
the
has
name. They always want the name for the public. That's
yeah.
part of it. But okay, so I think we agree on that one. Man of Steel was a solid movie. It was a nice, like, they say climbing up the mountain, really building towards something. You're like, wow, DC's really got something going. And then what do we see 3 years later? Right from Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and you're thinking, okay, awesome. You're gonna get a Batman vs Superman movie, and you're gonna see Ben Affleck be Batman. And I know people are divisive on that. I'm not gonna turn this into a Ben Affleck thing. But you're like, but people were excited when they announced that. I remember people at Comic-Con flipping out. Batman vs Superman, oh my god. Okay, so it comes out, and it's at best it's mediocre, and at worst people absolutely hate that movie.
Yeah. No, it is bad. But again, I think this is like a case of studio interference.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, it's a chop. The movie's a mess.
Yeah, I heard there's an Ultimate Edition.
I never watched it.
I've never seen it either.
Yeah, no.
I heard it adds like another like 20, 30 minutes that adds more story stuff.
I'm sure you could just find like what the extra scenes were and stuff like that.
On YouTube,
to save the time or whatever. Is it really that movie really worth watching again?
I've only seen it once.
Me too. I went to the movies to see it.
Me too. I went to the movies. I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, damn it, this is hype.
Yeah.
Even though I knew the reviews weren't good.
Yeah, no, it was looking bad for a minute.
It was a lot of like 6s and 7s. They're like, it's not that great. I'm like, yo, after all this hype, all this talk, and it's Batman and Superman, and it just was a mess. And people flip out about the Martha thing, which again, didn't bother me. I thought it was a nice little fun, stupid coincidence.
It's just it's one of those scenes that was able to be like turned into a meme.
Why'd you say that name?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things in that movie, but I like I like Cavill as Superman,
He's
and
awesome.
I feel like they can do Superman more justice if they wanted to,
See what you did there
and
with
still
the
keep him at cast as Superman. You know what I mean?
I think that
it's just the way they had him play it. And I liked Ben Affleck as Batman a lot. I don't care. Again, there's me not having like that fan, that connection to comic books. I don't care if Batman kills people.
It doesn't. That doesn't bother me as much as long as you don't ruin the character. If you want to expand on it,
Michael
fine.
Keaton's Batman murdered mad people in both movies.
I haven't seen those movies in so long. Did he really?
Absolutely.
Oh my god! Yeah. So then, I think people are just so sensitive these days. But with that said, even though we agree that the movie's not a disaster, but it's also not good, I think this is the turning point of where it went wrong. I think this is where it's like, and that's not to say that it just went off a cliff, but this is the starting point, because they say when things go bad, you have to look at when it started to go bad, and then when there's a trend of it going bad. This is the start right here of like, okay, you rushed it, you put out a mediocre movie with Batman and Superman, you tried to do a bunch of things, and it didn't really work, but you could still rebound. So they tried to rebound.
The movie still made $900 million worldwide.
Off the name. My parents went to go. They wanted to see Batman vs Superman. That's for that reason, It
wasn't like a financial loss or anything. A lot of people think it was like a major. It is a bomb, but it wasn't like
it's critically hated. That's why they think.
Well, but I think Warner Brothers, they thought it was a sure shot $1 billion movie.
Yeah, I think. Oh, they probably wrote it down as no question.
But again, I think they got involved and kind of messed up his thing a little bit, They
did. There's no question.
Yeah.
So we talk about that's the start of the downturn, and then what happens 6 months later in August? Suicide Squad comes out. We're now going to give you a villain movie. We went from the two heroes fighting to now the villains will be a thing.
Yeah.
Very Guardians of the Galaxy-ish kind of thing. I think they were.
Yeah. They even had the trailer with like the old classic rock music in it and stuff.
Which Snyder's also known for.
Yeah,
I know he didn't direct it, but I'm saying that's his thing.
Yeah, but they were trying more so to cash in on the Guardians of the Galaxy, like the vibes of that whole thing, because that trailer was great.
It was
with those songs and stuff.
Did you like Suicide? That's the question. Did you like Suicide Squad?
I gotta be honest, I've never seen all of it.
You have not seen? Oh, okay. I've seen all of it.
I like the idea of like a villain movie or whatever, and again, it made like $800 million worldwide. So this is
it made money.
Still, they didn't have any financial losses yet, but they weren't making the money they were hoping for.
Right, and they heard the chattering of like these movies are not that great, and everyone loved everyone said Margot Robbie was good, Will Smith was solid, pretty good cast, but it just I've seen the whole movie. I've only watched it once. It is a sloppy, choppy. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but it is again sloppy and just a mess of stuff and just.
Yeah. Again, I there's stories. I'm sure anybody who wants to look can find them of Warner Brothers interfering with that. I forget.
They absolutely did.
What was the director's name?
David Ayer.
David Ayer. That's right.
I like David Ayer too.
Yeah,
he's solid.
And I think you can tell
it's just, you can tell there's just so many ideas that are being thrown at the screen with a lot of, that's the thing with a lot of these movies. There's so many ideas being like thrown at the screen, and you're like, that's why it's a mess. The director, the editors, like like everyone is like trying to get their say in. And that's when it just doesn't turn out. You can tell.
It's just the studio like panicking again. They don't like the movie for whatever reason. They re-edited it and stuff like that.
I've heard that movie was edited so many times.
That's what I'm saying.
It was just, that's why it's a mess. It's been chopped to pieces. And hey, listen, maybe I'm being too lenient with these movies, even though I'm calling it the DC problem. But I don't hate this. I don't think that movie is like garbage awful. I don't think it's like the worst thing you could watch. I thought it was decent. When I saw it, I was entertained.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't great. It wasn't like one of the best Marvel movies comparison. But I thought it was good. I thought it was fine. But see, that's where I think people started seeing the trend now of like, oh, Superman wasn't good. Suicide Squad wasn't good.
But then what's next? Wonder Woman?
Exactly.
Okay.
So Wonder Woman comes out a year later.
Mega hit.
Critically
and fans loved it.
Fans loved it. You know, see, this is where DC again. They kind of did the opposite thing where they're like, okay, we're gonna focus the marketing and we're gonna focus the message and we're gonna make sure people understand like what this movie is. I think that was the mess with the previous two movies.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It was definitely better.
Like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it was a good movie, good movie.
I always say I liked it more than because that year it was all about Captain Marvel versus Wonder Woman, the Marvel DC thing, and I enjoyed Wonder Woman way more than Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I didn't even watch Captain Marvel.
It was not.
I don't need to see it.
Yeah, you don't. Exactly, you don't need to see it. So Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins did a good job.
Yeah.
Well directed, well shot. I think Gal Gadot is terrific.
You should get Patty Jenkins to direct a Star Wars movie.
I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
She's very much like people say this is kind of like a common thing to say, but she's got like a steady hand. I think you feel like she's confident. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
she makes the right moves. Like she doesn't try to like be over the top with things.
She can handle a big mega Hollywood production.
Yeah. And she's doing the second one, 1984.
Yeah, and if it ever comes out.
If it ever comes out. Yeah. And then there's already been talk of like, oh, she'll do the third one also, if and when the third one does come out, because
I'm sure they'll keep that money train going. Warner Brothers won't,
Yeah. So,
unless the next one bombs.
Well, I don't think. Well, with everything going on now, we just don't know.
Yeah.
So so again, now see the inconsistency. Back up the mountain with Wonder Woman, everyone loved it, but then what happens later in the year? Justice League comes out.
Right.
They got to bring the heroes together.
Right.
So now we're 1, 2, 3, 4. We're at the 5th movie in this timeline, and now we're already doing a Justice League movie.
Yeah. Again, it's the whole thing is connected to Warner Brothers just dying to catch up. By then, the Avengers had already, I think both Avengers movies, first two.
I believe the first, you're right. This was 2017, so I believe Ultron, the second one had come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes.
So
they're like, oh, we're already so far behind.
Yeah. So, and again, Snyder had a big vision, which everybody, people know about, the Snyder cut or whatever. That's been, rumors forever. And of course, he had a tragedy.
Yes, I'll say that, the personal tragedy of his daughter, passing away. So that's why I give this movie a little bit more slack.
Right.
Because they had to bring in Joss Whedon and they made it a little bit more silly fun, which was his, which I'm fine with.
He had a 4-hour thing, that was going to be divided into 2 parts or whatever.
Yep.
And, I guess the villain's name is Darkseid or whatever, and he was...
Yeah, Darkseid? Yeah, Darkseid.
Darkseid. And he, that was supposed to be his thing, the main villain of the whole
Thanos
thing. Yes, exactly. And I've heard comic people say that's basically what he is, the Thanos of the DC universe.
The be-all, end-all.
So, the studio's like, we don't have time or the money. Batman versus Superman didn't do what we hoped for. Let's just rush this thing out. Plus, Snyder left and what the heck's his name? Joss Whedon came and took over, which you can clearly see which scenes were directed by. A
little more lighthearted, a little bit more silly, jokey, which I'm fine with. Not everything has to be. I know DC likes to do the darker thing, but not everything has to be so dark all the time. It can be, in between. But one of the other biggest problems with Justice League, other than it being like bloated and over top and the stupid CG.
Jesse Eisenberg.
He was not great. Jesse Eisenberg was rough.
Yeah.
The CG. What was the villain? It was just Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Again, horrible. I usually don't criticize the CGI too much for these movies, but that one he looked like a big plastic figurine.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't buy this. It looks weird.
Because that wasn't supposed to be him, or from what I understand, they wanted that to be Darkseid.
Well, that's why they planted that in the post-credit scene. They planted, no pun intended, they planted the seed for that with the Jesse Eisenberg kind of hinting at it at the end of the movie. So Steppenwolf was gonna be like the setup before Darkseid was gonna be like the end.
Yes.
Pun, you know. Mm-hmm. So. That was going to be the thing, but another just bloated movie. I don't think it's a disaster. I don't think it's a complete horrible garbage.
It's only like 2 hours long.
Yeah, but it still felt bloated because there's all these heroes that they were trying to squeeze in, and that was the problem too. We had never seen the Flash before the movie, and we never seen Cyborg.
Right.
And they were throwing all these heroes at the screen, and we had barely even seen Wonder Woman.
Aquaman came out by then, right?
No, that's the thing. Aquaman was the next movie.
Oh, okay.
So we hadn't even seen him.
Yeah, right. And the way they were introduced in Batman versus Superman was so like laughable.
Yeah, it was just like, here's a 30-second scene of like
when he comes out like swimming and stuff.
Yeah, and he's like doing the trident thing, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I was like embarrassed. I felt embarrassed. You ever watch something in the movies and you kind of feel embarrassed for I don't know what for either the people saying it or me for being there.
And it was weird because it was sloppy. That's why people say these movies are sloppy. They don't come off as like pre-planned and they're just messy.
No, they're just trying anything. They're throwing anything at the wall to see what sticks. You know, and another problem is, you know, I guess this is after in your timeline here, but like Ben Affleck just being fed up and leaving the whole thing.
Yeah, he had again another guy who had some personal issues and said he admitted he couldn't continue. He was going to try to write the next Batman, the solo Batman movie, but
right.
I'll give him credit. He admitted he couldn't do it.
I think he's a good director. I was kind of excited to see what he could do with a Batman movie.
I agree.
And I liked the way he was Batman in in the other movie, like killing people.
I know. Hey, I enjoyed it. It was fun. So again, the inconsistency of DC. So everyone dookied on Justice League. They didn't like it, and then Aquaman comes out, and I'll tell you the truth. Before Aquaman came out, I was coming off of like the down of the Justice League, and I'm like, another DC movie. Who cares about Aquaman? I didn't even like the trailers. Usually, I get hyped for the trailers of these movies, and then I end up seeing what the realization is of the movie.
It looked like Lord of the Rings in the ocean.
Yeah, I thought it looked so dumb, so over the top, so absurd. I'm like, I don't care about this. This looks stupid. I might not even go see this, I said to myself. And then the reviews came out, and people were like, Aquaman is a good, fun, solid, James Wan, popcorn fun movie.
That's what it is.
And
you
I'm
said
like,
it right there.
All right, I got sold on the reviews. I'm like, all right, I'll go check this out. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed Aquaman.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was fun. That Jason Momoa is like charming. It's a silly, absurd, ridiculous movie. But I think considering what Aquaman is and what it can be by today's standards, that was the best it could be.
Yeah, no. You said it right off the bat. The first thing is James Wan.
James Wan, man.
He's a good director.
Another guy, steady behind the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this. He makes good movies, and I like that. I think he did the third Star Trek movie also.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
The worst one, actually. Yeah.
You think that? I didn't see it, but I heard it was good. But
I didn't like it. Beyond. It's called Beyond. The third one. Yeah, the first two are better.
Okay.
It's the worst Star Trek, but it's not a horrible movie. It's just not as good as the first.
Okay, so I like him as a director, anyways.
I love him.
So I think that's the number one thing. That's what I thought. Okay, maybe it'll work.
Right.
I thought it was like the closest thing to one of those big Marvel movies.
Absolutely.
In tone,
just crazy CGI over the top.
And Jason Momoa is really good. This he's a charismatic guy and stuff, and
you root for him in the movie.
He's a star. Like people like him and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's still riding a little bit of the Game of Thrones love, so he's got the fan base. Game of Thrones. People are like, oh, I want to see this guy.
Yeah, he redeemed himself from the Conan remake.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in that. Yeah. Was that bad?
Awful.
Oh, I didn't see it. Was it? It was awful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh man. Okay, so Aquaman was a nice surprise. Great for them. And then they follow it up with the next one in 2019, Shazam.
Yes.
Another movie. Did not know what to expect. I was like, I don't know anything really much about Shazam. It's weird, but it might be fun. And a friend of mine said, let's go check it out and see what it might be fun. I was like, all right, let me see it. It's getting good reviews. And hey, Shazam, another one. Really solid, well-made, fun.
Yeah.
Just silly. They didn't try to take it too seriously. It wasn't like a crazy villains and powers. And
no.
It was more of just... neighborhood kid gets powers and let's see what he does with it.
No, it's obviously that's like every kid's like fantasy.
Of course, especially when you're 13.
Yeah, at that kid's age in the movie. I think this, again, like I'm not crazy about any of these movies. I've seen them and I think they're good and I root for the DC universe. But I think this one's my favorite one out of all of them.
Really, you like Shazam? That much?
Yeah. It is.
Because it's different.
It is. It is different. I kind of, if you're gonna compare it to like anything Marvel has, I kind of would compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really?
Yeah, I think in tone and like fun, like banter and stuff like that.
Like fun corniness, but like in a good way.
Yeah, and just like, a little bit of edgy humor here and there and stuff like that. And there's a lot of comedy. There's more comedy in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies than a lot of the other Marvel movies. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, that's where that's kind of the silly fun, Otherwise, it's just like one-liners.
Yeah, it just makes the movies fun, more fun, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So Shazam was and they're gonna do a Shazam too. So did made money, did well.
Also, Warner Brothers played it smart. They paid they spent $50 million on it, and they
smaller director too. That's why I think why they gave.
Yeah,
him
I think he
money.
came from a horror movie or something.
He did a movie I think called Lights Out.
Okay,
which I liked. It was a fun, solid little movie, and its name's David F. Sandberg.
Yes. He did the Annabelle, one of the Annabelle movies.
Yes, I didn't know that. I know he did Lights
so.
Out. He did Annabelle, which I'm not a fan of those movies, but okay.
Okay.
And then he did. I thought he brought a nice, fun tone to Shazam.
Yeah. I've never watched any of those horror movies, but he did a good job with that movie. Again, on a small budget. You know what else it reminds me of? It reminds me of just like kind of budget and like fun and still able to make a quality movie.
Agreed.
Movies like Scott Pilgrim,
Love
which I
that
thought
movie.
was excellent.
Excellent. Edgar Wright, man.
Yeah. And Kick-Ass. Really good movie.
Love that. I'm so glad you brought that up. I love Kick-Ass. That's another great one.
Yeah, small budgets, and those movies both weren't hits.
Nope.
Which is sad
They did not
to me,
make a lot of
especially
money.
Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim was
That's
really
got the
good.
cult following now,
Yeah.
or 10 years later we're still talking about it. I literally saw an article the other day saying 10 years later Scott Pilgrim, a movie that did not bombed kind of.
Yeah.
Didn't make any money, but it's beloved.
Yeah, no, I think that's a brilliant movie.
It is. I agree.
I think it's perfect.
I agree. I have the Blu-ray for that movie. I
Yeah.
rarely buy the Blu-ray. So I love that one.
Good. I bet it looks good on Blu-ray.
Awesome. So wrapping up this current DC timeline, I know people talk about Joker, but that's a one-off, so we won't include that. That's not part of the DCEU.
See, we gotta see like what that mutates into, because that's just
Right.
like something that all of a sudden like no one saw that coming.
Right. So let's just
So
generally
Warner
say
Brothers
that it's
again, they're
solid.
going to want to capitalize on it. So see what they're going to do, and why I don't understand. Like I read Michael Keaton may reprise his role as Batman.
Yeah.
I didn't read past that, like the headline.
No, that's pretty much all I heard because it's for the Flash movie because there's a timeline.
That's
thing.
right. Okay.
That's why they're doing it.
Okay.
So we'll leave Joker out of it because that's not the DCEU, and then the final DCEU movie that just came out, which I saw, Birds of Prey, and I won't hammer down on it because I've talked about it before on the show. Birds of Prey is not good.
All right. Well,
That
we'll
is
leave it at
another
that.
the downturn of DC.
Yeah.
This constant. See, that's the thing. It's constantly up and down. They make two good movies. They make a bad movie. They make a bad movie. They make two good movies. It's such a mess. And Margot Robbie's good in it, and Ewan McGregor's good, but it's just just a mediocre movie. There's nothing special about it.
Yeah.
It's just
They underestimated like I don't know.
her cachet, kind of.
I don't know.
Harley Quinn is huge. I understand. Like people love Harley Quinn.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
of course.
That's what they were going.
She's perfectly cast too.
Oh, Margot. Oh,
Yeah.
Margot Robbie is fantastic. But Birds of Prey is one of those DCEU movies. You put that at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah. Well,
And again, not like none of these movies are like horrible, awful dreck, but it's not good.
yeah. Well, hopefully, I like her, so hopefully she got paid good on it.
No, I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
So in summation, we've gone through the entire DCEU timeline. Anything else you want to say before we transition, Mike?
We'll see what happens with that next Batman, because that's the real key
Yeah.
to
No,
the
that
whole
is.
thing, to the future of DC. Because
The
Batman
Batman.
is their draw, their main guy.
Can they please make Man of Steel 2 also? Please make Man of Steel 2.
I don't know. If they do, I'd hope Zack Snyder.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I doubt it though.
And then we're gonna do the future Wonder Woman's. They're gonna do Aquaman 2. They're gonna do Shazam. So all these movies are gonna get sequels. Luckily, all the good ones are gonna get sequels.
Right. If Hollywood survives.
If Hollywood
Yeah,
survives,
there's
this-
a big asterisk there.
Yeah, there is a bit. Everything keeps getting pushed back. Every time we do the show, we keep talking about more movies being pushed back.
Yeah. You'll be
All right.
watching all these movies on TV.
Yeah, man, that would be rough. Man. All right, so with that, let's transition over to our second topic. Let's go over to our favorite TV shows of all time, Mike. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I had just finished watching The Sopranos. All my friends all the time have been telling me, Eric, you got to get up on your Italian, mobster stuff and do that. Danny, you've watched The Sopranos, obviously, right? Yeah. So Frank was telling me, and Tim was telling me, and Danny was telling me, Eric, you got it. So I finally watched Sopranos, and I was thinking to myself, where kind of Sopranos stands in like the pantheon of the greatest TV shows of all time. And I know you haven't finished it, so I won't go into spoilers. And listen, I loved The Sopranos. It was fantastic. I watched the whole show in like 5 weeks. I binged it. I went crazy through it. It's a fantastic show.
Yeah.
But
course.
I just don't feel like for me, it's like that top 2, top 3 show ever. I
Right.
have other shows that I actually would prefer.
Is
to
that
watch.
how they hyped it up to you though?
Yeah,
as
like-
like the top 2 or 3 best.
Danny,
TV
where would you say for you? Is that like your top like 2 or 3 show of all time, or is it a little bit lower?
Yeah, maybe top 2 or 3. Yeah.
Really? See, okay, that's the general belief that a lot of people have. For me, I feel like it's top 5 or top 10. And not because people say like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with the show? What's wrong with it?" And I just feel like a lot of us know the ending. The ending is, to me, is an embarrassment. It's a
Right.
joke. It's
Right,
horrible.
right,
That
yeah.
quick cut, everyone knows about it. But I felt like there were just other things. And again, I won't ruin it for you, Mike. But Danny knows there are just some things that are just so just unanswered. There are literally people that things happen to, and you don't find out what happened to them.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm just like, well, what happened to that guy? Why is this guy happening? Why is this? And I also don't love a lot of the characters, and I thought it would change over time. I remember telling Tim and Frank too. I was like halfway through the show, I was like around season 3, and I'm like, yeah, I don't love Michael Imperioli's Christopher character.
Oh, really?
I just don't love.
But he's a scumbag. You're
yeah,
not
exactly.
supposed
He's a
to like
scumbag.
him.
But yeah, but we like Tony though. Tony's a crazy
Yeah,
person too.
I mean-
But we have a general liking of him.
Yeah,
Because we root for him. Christopher Moltisanti is like a drug addict, loser, scumbag. Just has done horrible things, and he's just not likable. And he hits his girlfriend. Like I'm just like, I can't get behind this guy. And-
yeah, there's one joke I saw in like, I don't know, I'm like 3.5 seasons in,
Yeah.
or halfway through the 3rd season or whatever.
Yeah.
And some guy said about him, he's the only guy he knows that he can smoke a cigarette in the rain without an umbrella.
Okay.
It's mad funny.
I remember that. Yes, I remember that. So, and listen, I don't like Christopher. I also don't like Paulie. I think Paulie's
I love
obnoxious.
Paulie.
See,
That's my
people
boy.
love Paulie. Danny, do you like Paulie on the show? See, I don't like Paulie.
No, that's my boy,
he's
man.
He's just like obnoxious and very anal.
He's
and
loyal, man.
He's loyal. No, he is.
Dude, I hope to God, like when I have gray hairs, that's how my gray hairs
Oh, you want to
grow.
come through on the side?
Oh, God, yeah. Please.
Yeah. So again, and I'm not saying I hate these characters. I just don't love them. I think, of course, most obvious statement in the world. James Gandolfini is amazing.
Yeah.
And Edie Falco.
Yeah,
is amazing.
No, a lot of people are amazing, including the people that you don't like.
I think their show's well acted. I just don't love the characters.
Yeah.
Acting. One of the guys I love is Silvio.
Yeah, he's great.
I love Silvio.
You know who he is,
Van
right?
Zandt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bruce Springsteen.
Yep.
I think he's great. I love he's got that scowl all the time.
No, he's got the best look ever. It doesn't ever change. He's so good.
Yeah, I love it. But to me, it's the powerhouse performance of Gandolfini, of course, and Edie Falco.
Yeah.
Carmela Soprano, like she could have easily been that whole like depressed wife that just annoys her husband all the time.
She's
a masterful performance.
Yeah. No
I
doubt.
also don't like their son. I don't like AJ.
Yeah.
He's annoying.
Yeah, both the kids get annoying.
Yeah, people say, "Oh, Meadow." I'm like, yeah, Jamie Lynn Sigler's a beautiful woman. She's great to look at, but I don't think her character is that fascinating. I find her kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, they're just bratty teenagers.
Yeah, bratty teenagers.
They're fine.
So listen, it sounds like I'm shitting on The Sopranos. I'm not. I loved it. It's a great show. But what I'm trying to say is, I feel like it's more of a top 5, top 10 show.
Okay.
And I have other shows that I think of in my head that are the greatest of all time.
Please tell me.
So the first one. So I always pull the list that me and my friends always talk about is they do the WGA, the Writers Guild, and they talk about what are the best written shows. So of course number 1 is The Sopranos.
Really?
Tim always says, well, Sopranos is... Danny, doesn't Tim always say, number 1 show ever, Writers Guild, Sopranos, so it's got to be number 1. So I'm like, okay.
So this is from the Writers Guild of America?
Yes.
And this is their own opinion of the greatest
written
screenplays?
shows.
Okay.
And I think that's the key to any great show is how well written it is.
Okay, so what's next?
So the show that they say is number 2, which I agree with, one of my all-time favorite shows, Seinfeld.
Okay.
That is a masterfully written... I'd put Seinfeld ahead of the Sopranos. I know it's different because it's a comedy. Danny's having a nervous breakdown right now off camera. Everyone listening, Danny is he's smiling. But again, I understand the difference between a comedy and a drama.
Right.
With Sopranos, you have to like invest the time. So Seinfeld, you're just turning it on any day and watching a funny 20 minutes.
Right, but that's all anybody has time for these days.
Right. So what's one that you think of as one of your favorite, greatest of all time TV shows, Mike?
I mean, it's a tough question. I'd have to go way back and say The Wonder Years.
Really?
Yeah, no, that was
I literally know nothing about that show. Please enlighten me.
It's with oh my goodness, is Kevin Savage? Is that his name?
Is it Fred Savage?
Yes,
I was gonna say
yes.
that name I know.
Yeah, it's just a growing up movie or show, with like family. He's got his brother. It's just like I don't know. It has that Sandlot feel. You've seen the Sandlot, right?
I have not seen this. I know it's the baseball. I know it's baseball. I know the movie. I've not seen the Sandlot. I know.
Oh my
That's
God.
one that got by me.
But in the Sandlot, do you ever see like Stand By Me?
I've not seen Stand By Me.
These are movies where like kids.
Yeah, kids
It's
coming
like
together.
the adult. It's the adult version of the kid reflecting back on his life, and he's
Sure.
like narrating it and stuff. So like, it has that feel. That show, The Wonder Years, like adult. His name was Kevin in the show.
Okay.
And
Winnie Cooper.
Winnie Cooper. Everyone loved Winnie Cooper, man. She was like the girlfriend or whatever.
So you'd put that up there as one of the best.
I think so, but dude, I haven't seen it in a long time, and I know it had all these. It's never been available on like DVD, as far as I know. Is it where?
It's on Hulu.
Really?
Oh, really? Oh, check that out on Hulu then. Okay.
You know, they had like all these classic songs in it, and like the DVD people couldn't get like the rights from all the different artists, like all these like legendary,
wow.
you know, songs that you've heard, you know, in a million times, like classic songs and stuff.
Okay. I'll throw another sitcom out there.
Okay.
All in the Family.
Okay.
Love All in the Family. I might be dating myself for some people who are out there listening to, but go back and watch All in the Family. That show could not be on the air today. Archie Bunker is one of the greatest television characters of all time. That's an all-time great show. Brilliantly written.
Okay.
I love All in the Family. So what's a people throw Mad? I have not seen Mad Men. I know people throw that out
Yeah,
there.
I
I'm
don't
not
know
into
anything
show.
about that. See, I haven't seen a lot of TV shows. You know, I'm sure as the more of these shows we do, I'm sure like things will come up,
Yeah,
and I'll be
exactly.
like,
Throw
I've
them.
never seen it. You guys will be like, what the
A
fuck?
lot of people talk about The Wire.
Never watched it all.
I've seen the first 2 seasons. Danny, you seen The Wire? You like that show?
I haven't seen The Wire.
I've seen the first 2 seasons, and I'll be honest. After the second season, I was like, I can't watch any more of this. It's a good
These
show.
are like
I just didn't love it.
These are like different TV shows to me than stuff like The Wonder Years are All in the Family.
Yeah,
you know, those are like sitcoms or something.
yeah.
Like, you know, even though Wonder Years kind of like.
It's a big category. That's why I'm like throwing it all
these
out
are
there.
like these things are like movies,
Right.
You know, just like 9-hour movies.
Well, the one that everyone always wants us to talk about, which I'm sure, of course, you know, Breaking Bad. How about that one?
I've never gotten past the second episode.
Really?
I swear to God.
Oh man, Breaking.
Yeah.
I love Breaking. See, I think I put Breaking Bad ahead of The Sopranos.
I heard, you know, I know people that say Breaking Bad is the greatest show ever made.
I don't agree with that, but I can understand
Mm-hmm.
why people say, because it's such the genius of Breaking Bad, and anyone who's watched it will know it's such a tight, contained, limited story. They didn't try to stretch it out.
Uh-huh.
They didn't throw more money at it. They didn't say they wanted to keep making more. Obviously, you know, that was the hope of the network,
Uh-huh.
but they were like, no, let's just it's contained. This is what it's going to be. This is the story. Vince Gilligan had an idea for a story, and he stuck to it
Uh-huh.
and just told a complete story, and that's why it feels so perfect and so complete.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's the
I
genius
just
of
never got around to watching it. It always, especially like I said, I mentioned with Game of Thrones, when things get so hyped up, it's hard for me. Like with a TV show, at least, you know, like it's hard for me. I sometimes like don't want to watch it.
Yeah, because
You know.
you also got to put in the investment. That's a problem too. You got to put in the investment of time.
It's true.
A lot of people love Lost. That's
Never
another one.
watched
I've
it.
also never watched it. I
Yeah.
know I have a few friends that absolutely love that show,
Uh-huh.
and I know it goes. But I heard that was a show that kind of.
I heard it's one of those movies or shows that like had a terrible ending that pissed everybody off.
I've seen the ending, and I'm like, that's the ending. And my friend
Yeah.
explained to me, I'm like, I don't know if I want to put my time into this.
Yeah.
But again, that's another one that kind of goes into that pantheon of like all-time greatest shows.
Yeah, I never saw it.
So for me,
Something like, you know, I loved growing up, obviously, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air
I love- that's
and
one of my
Family
all-time.
Matters, where it's, you know, those movies or shows were incredible. They're great shows.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is one of my all-time favorites. I think
How's that not on there? How's
it
Fresh
probably
Prince?
is on this list. I mean, there's like 100 on here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure it is at some point. But so the other one that a lot of people mention that I love, and it did tail off toward the end, but I love it. Dexter.
I see. I never watched it. You know, I really never got into it. Especially, you know, like that was on Showtime.
Yes.
You know,
that
so-
was a reason to watch Showtime at the time.
Is it really?
Dexter's awesome. It fell off later in the seasons, but that is a brilliant, awesome, incredible show.
Yeah.
I
no.
love it. I might even people are gonna flip out. I might put Dexter ahead of Sopranos,
Really?
but only by maybe a little bit because the week to week of me watching Dexter was just so much fun seeing how much trouble this guy could get into. Like
Right.
for people who don't know, he was
He
a serial
murders, like-
he's a serial killer who only kills bad people.
Right. I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So.
Tim says.
Yeah. Tim's telling? Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, he says Sopranos is the best TV show of all time. No doubt. Even the writers killed him.
Well, yeah, well, he knows. I told him we're going off the Writers Guild right now. And
Yeah.
listen, I would not argue it's a brilliantly written show,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I have just other shows that I just prefer more.
Yeah. No, like I said, I've gotten up to the third season of it, and I know how it ends. I've seen like I've seen other episodes, just not all of them, and I've seen the last episode.
Me too.
And I think it was a terrible ending. I thought, I
Yeah.
just felt like they had no idea what to do, and they were panicking about pissing anybody off.
Yeah.
Or just one set of people off, or another set of people off. I don't know. So they're just like, we'll just piss everybody off.
That's true.
Turn out the lights.
See, Tim would love this. Game of Thrones is on this Writers Guild list,
Uh-huh.
but it's number 40.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry. That's
Yeah.
absurd.
you think so?
Game of Thrones might be. I'll say it right now. Game of Thrones is probably my all-time favorite show. If anyone tells me like what's one show to watch, I always tell them Game of Thrones. I'm like, go invest in Game of Thrones.
It is. It's phenomenal. It really is. That's why it's so sad that the last season I felt was really bad. I felt like they ruined the whole thing, because I think if they got it right, and I don't think it would have been that hard to get right. Not that I probably don't know what I'm talking about at all, but it's it could have been the greatest thing ever made.
It could. I agree. It could have been. We all know the problems with the last season, but I still feel like that's how good it is. Even with the last season, it's still to me my favorite, greatest TV show ever made.
Yeah, no, it is great until the last season. It's like perfect.
Yeah, I'll take you back to the '90s too. Another show I'm surprised is on this list for greatest written. Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, I
in the 90s.
never watched it.
That was that and the spinoff Angel. Angel might even be better than Buffy.
Really?
Angel is another fantastic show.
Yeah, I never seen probably a single episode, but I've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer the movie.
Oh, I've never seen the movie. I've only seen the show. I grew up loving Sarah Michelle Gellar. Okay, we'll start winding this down. South Park.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
That's that's an all-time.
Yeah, no, those guys are so much better. The Simpsons is great, obviously.
Simpsons was on this list. It was top 20.
Of course. But South Park is better at making fun of like current events faster. It's like if something happens in the world, the following week
the turnaround is unbelievable.
Yeah. The following week
absolutely.
they have an episode making fun of it, and they're so good. And I'm glad they just got. They do what they want, and they got the guts to do it.
Right,
and thank
no
God,
holds barred.
Yeah, and thank God that like Comedy Central, has their back so far. You know what I mean?
Oh no, they stuck by them. They've had very few problems. I think they've had a couple, but very few problems.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we'll throw another one here.
Those guys are really talented.
Super. Oh yeah, Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
Yeah,
Shout out, man.
yeah,
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Frank loves this show. Danny, I don't know if you've seen it. Boardwalk Empire. We were talking about that last time.
Yeah.
Frank was telling you to watch Boardwalk.
Yeah, no, I did watch the first season when that first came out because my main reason was like I mentioned last time. I love Steve Buscemi.
Yes.
And I felt like, all right, this guy finally got his due. He got, like if you're doing a show, especially at that time on HBO, if you had like a series on HBO, that's big time. You know what I mean? There's going to be like awards in your future and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if the show goes on. So I'm like, yes, good for Steve Buscemi. The guy deserves it.
Absolutely. He got his big hit show.
Yeah, I just didn't, for whatever reason, I just watched the first season and I didn't pick up the next season or whatever. Who knows why. But that's another one I intend to go back to for sure.
Yeah. I've heard Peaky Blinders is another great show that people Frank loves that show.
It's not like a new show.
It's a little bit newer, yeah.
It's
great. I've heard it's great. Danny, is there a show that we have not said that jumps out to you that is an all-time great show?
The Office.
I don't. A lot of people. You know what? A lot of people love The Office. I do not love that. I can't get into it.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's funny.
I
The
never
comedy doesn't
watched
appeal
it,
to me.
but there was like I've seen clips of it that I thought were very funny.
Okay.
I'll say that much about it.
I like Friends. Friends was on this list.
I did watch
I grew
Friends.
up watching Friends. I love that
a little
show
bit
too.
here and there, but that was a good show. But something like Seinfeld is like leaps and bounds.
Yes.
It's like
Seinfeld.
way
that's jumps ahead.
better than all those types of shows.
Yeah. All right. So I think we've broken down some all-time. We get some great all-time great TV shows to really talk about. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's move.
There's
in.
probably a million we're missing too.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's
there's so many I saw on the list that I'm like, I don't even want to go down that road because we're going to talk about 50 more shows.
Yeah, I'm
So,
just talking about stuff I've seen.
Yeah, if you guys in the comments had some shows that we haven't said, throw them out there. All right, so for our final topic tonight, we asked you guys to throw us some film recommendations along with the fan questions. So one of you guys on Instagram by the name of Dexter, Soprano, Lucifer, I guess we know their 3 favorite shows, told us to talk about Knives Out. They wanted to hear about Knives Out, so we decided to watch it over the last week, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. So this was a show we kind of didn't get a chance to talk about on the podcast because there were so many movies coming out at the end of last year.
Right, yeah,
that
there
I didn't
was.
even see Knives Out in the theater. I had to check it out.
Yeah.
later because there was everything last year was 1917 and The Irishman. And,
Right, it was
Oscar season,
a glut of good movies.
Yeah. So saw Knives Out a few months ago. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I actually said to myself, "Wow, I should have saw this in the theater. This is a really terrific, well-made, fun, who made it mystery thriller."
Right.
I'd probably give it like an 8, 8.5. The cast. Look at that cast.
Cast is really great. That's the biggest thing.
Daniel Craig, Tony Collette,
Yeah.
Don Johnson,
Yeah.
Christopher Plummer.
Yes,
and
Christopher Plummer.
He's always good.
He is always good. I just want to hear that guy tell me a story.
Right, he's got
I'll
the
be like
voice.
captivated.
Michael Shannon's in this movie too.
Yeah, Michael
Chris
Shannon.
Evans. Like, look at this cast.
Yeah, Chris Evans. We'll talk. But the cast is really good. Jamie Lee Curtis. Tony Collette.
Yeah, Tony Collette.
Excellent.
Who else are we missing?
She should have a few Oscars by now. She should.
Tony Collette. She is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
She does so many. She did. What was she in? Didn't she do a movie? Oh, was it Hereditary? Wasn't she?
Yes.
People
She
said
should have won an Oscar.
nominated.
Yes.
She didn't even get nominated. I
Yeah,
agree with
that's
you.
bullshit.
She didn't even get nominated.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to talk about the movie itself. So what did you generally think of it?
I thought it was a really good movie. It was good. It's obviously it's well made and everything.
Ryan Johnson had a nice comeback after episode 8.
He needed it.
He needed it.
He needed it.
Have you seen Knives Out, Danny? No. Oh, excellent. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah. I don't think it should have got nominated for Oscar. It got nominated for screenplay and Best Picture, I think.
Yes, I believe definitely the writing. I'm not I think so.
I think it was nominated because they had 8 or 9 nominations.
10.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it was a fun movie. It's like in the vein of those old Agatha
Christie.
Yes.
Very much. Yeah, that's a great point. Very much Agatha Christie.
Those whodunits that. There's mystery movies because I watched a couple other movies kind of just got
you in the mood.
Yeah, it did. It
Yeah.
did. But these are the kinds. It's like those type of movies, like the Agatha Christie ones and the the whodunit, like Clue.
Yeah,
the movie Clue, the Murder on Orient Express, where everybody's all close together.
You mentioned The Usual Suspects to me.
Yeah, that's kind of
that's
what I'm trying to separate the two because there's whodunit movies, but this is kind of like a subgenre of a whodunit movie where it's like those close quarters, everybody's all in these scenes together,
right?
And you're just trying to pick it out. I didn't see it, but there's one called Gosford Park, which has an amazing cast.
I've heard of that movie. I heard it's great. I have not seen it.
Yeah. For me, it wasn't better than the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's more of an investigation murder.
Yeah. It was close. It's still close because it's still within the family.
Yes, absolutely.
But I felt like the mystery wasn't that strong.
Yeah, for people again.
I think it was obvious. Once are we talking spoilers here?
Yeah, we could do spoilers. The movie's been out for 5 or 6 months, so we can do spoilers.
As soon as he gets in the car and calls her in, I'm like, all right, this is okay. Now we know who's behind it or whatever. And I thought was in this very strong cast. I felt he was the weak link in the whole.
Oh, thing. You think Chris Evans was great?
Yeah, no.
He was playing the arrogant, douchey son.
He's even you compare him to the Marvel characters.
Yeah,
he's no fun. He's not fun. He's not Thor. Even Thor's become fun.
Yeah, with Ragnarok made it fun.
Yes,
absolutely.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Iron Man is fun.
Yeah.
And he's just meh all the time,
I've heard that complaint a little bit. I understand.
I don't think he's the greatest actor to begin with, but I do love it. Going back to Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah,
he's perfect.
He's good in that.
He's
yes,
perfect
you're right. He is in Scott Pilgrim. Yeah. What I like about Knives Out is the movie is not about who done it. It's about the circumstance around how the person was killed. Because within correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen the movie in a few months. Don't you find out who killed Christopher Plummer in the first half hour?
No, he gets killed in the first half hour. You
right.
think it was her because she thinks she injected.
Right, but then he slit his throat.
He did slit his throat, thinking also that she injected him with the morphine.
He was trying to cover her ass.
Yes.
He said, "I'm gonna protect you.
Yes,
I want you to get."
Find that out as the movie goes on.
Right. So it's not about who did it. We know who did it, but it's the mystery is finding out what was going on with the medicine and then the switching of the medicine
Right.
and the autopsy report and who was going to be left the money and the family wanted the father's money.
Right.
And everything, and the that's what I love too. The fighting of the family.
Yeah.
great.
No, it's fun. Again, that cast it was mostly
Incredible.
perfect.
It's probably one of
yeah.
the greatest casts assembled in the past 10 years for a movie. It's an incredible.
I'd have
Lakeith
to-
Stanfield is in it too as the partner, Daniel Craig's partner. Let me ask you this: some people were very divisive on this. What did you think of Daniel Craig's Southern accent?
It kind of takes you out. I do like Daniel Craig.
I love Daniel Craig.
Yeah. So, but it does. It kind of takes you out. And I'll tell you what took me out even more. Unless you want to elaborate more.
No, go
What
ahead.
did you think of his Southern drawl?
It didn't. I took a little getting used to, but it
Yeah.
didn't bother me. I was like, "This is weird."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in the movie, they call him like SV Law and Order KFC, Law and Order
Okay.
SVU KFC.
That's funny.
Colonel Sanders, and I'm like, all right, they're referencing
Yeah.
it. So I'll say this: it was weird, but it didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, it didn't bother me either. You just know it's like Daniel Craig. You know what he really sounds like, and
Right.
you know
He's,
he's
like, classy
trying.
British.
He's trying really, really hard.
He's like, I've eliminated no suspects.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what even took it more out for me? I wish like the other cops behind them, they're like goofballs. They're
Yeah.
like the comic relief of the movie.
Yeah, they're
but
like
I feel-
fumbling a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just making jokes and like goofing around and stuff. It didn't seem like they were taking anything seriously. And for a movie like this, I would like they can still have. There was still fun moments in the movie that had nothing to do with them. Funny moments between the other actors and stuff. But I feel like those parts, detectives, investigating the murder of like this incredibly rich man,
Sure.
should be playing it serious.
I agree with that. It was almost a little too silly sometimes.
It took me out. I was like, come on, this is it's a murder.
Right. And it's his family.
Yeah,
It's all around. It's not
I
like
don't
there's a
know. I
bunch of
just felt like
strangers.
it was too goofy.
The
for
other
that.
problem I had with the film too is at the end they dump a lot on you. There is a full-on exposition of like, here's when this happened, here's when this happened, and I understand they're explaining it. I have no problem with the movie explaining itself, but they dump a lot on you. And I remember rewinding like a couple seconds at a time, like, oh, let me go back 10 seconds. Let me go back. What did they just say? What just happened?
Really?
Who did that? Because there's also a lot of names, and if
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
learn all their names,
Yeah.
you're like, wait, so which woman was that? Which son-in-law?
Yeah.
Which was the younger daughter? The older? Like, so there's a lot of names for like a huge cast. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like they dump a lot on you, but I do think it was on a lot of top 10 lists last year. And you know what? I
Yeah.
agree with that. I think it wasn't on my top 10 personally, but it was an honorable mention. I thought it was a fantastic film. A nice comeback for Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, no, he needed it. I'm not a fan of his either way.
Yeah.
But,
I love Looper.
Yeah, Looper's pretty solid.
Looper's
movie.
really good.
Little movie.
Yeah. But people said the irony was that he put out Knives Out last year to like critical acclaim and like 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I did. I saw that. It was 97%.
Was it 97? I
That's
said
absurd.
Oh, I thought it was like
I don't
90.
think it's correct. I think
Yeah, it's not that.
If I was
good.
going to give it a percentage, I'd give it like an 80 to an 85.
Yeah, I agree with that. 85, yeah, 8.5. I agree. And they said so they said the irony was that he puts out a movie, gets critical acclaim. Episode 9 comes out and gets like middling 6s and 7s, and they're like, "Oh, look, he got his comeback. He made a better movie than Episode 9 a year later for his own movie."
Maybe if he's I guess it's definitely a possibility.
I threw up a quick poll today on the Instagram. I'll ask you real quick. People talk about Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. Who do you trust more for reviews? If you wanted to check a review real quick for a movie, where would you go? Rotten or?
Well, I go to
IMDb?
Rotten because I don't really. The only reason I ever go to IMDb is just to look up someone's filmography,
Really,
or something
'Cause
like
it's so
that.
comprehensive.
Yeah.
Danny, what do you like? You like Rotten Tomatoes or you like IMDb?
I go to IMDb, but I don't usually look up reviews.
No.
I just go off what I.
You just go for what you heard.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hate to admit it, but I'll just go to Rotten Tomatoes and look at what the score is,
Right.
Which is totally unfair.
Yeah, no, but wait, listen, we all do. it.
But I'm not gonna go watch these movies regardless. If something's coming out
Right, and you
that I
want-
want to
right.
see, no Rotten Tomatoes score is gonna make me keep me from seeing it or making me,
I agree with that. The only time it affects me is if I'm on the fence. If I'm on a fence about a movie and they say it's awful garbage, I'm not gonna go see it.
Yeah.
But if again, it works the other way. Like with Aquaman, I was like, I don't want to see this. I don't think this looks any good. This looks stupid. But the reviews were all great, and I was like, okay, I'll go see it. So reviews for me, I trust IMDb a little bit more for me personally.
I don't know how bad this is of a statement on Aquaman, but I watched Aquaman on a plane with no sound, and I understood every bit of it.
Hey, it's still a good movie.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. And again, I root for DC.
Yeah, Tim saw a Black Panther on a plane, and he said he still liked it. He
Yeah.
enjoyed it. He was like, it's fun. Okay, so yeah, overall enjoyed Knives Out. Fun movie. Definitely one of the better films of last year. Not a masterpiece, but a really well-made, good
Yeah,
film.
no, but I think I don't know, because there's so many great films. I think it'd be far down on the list.
Sure. If you had like a top 20, I think it'd definitely be on the 20.
Maybe,
20
yeah.
yeah. All right, so we'll transition from that. Thank you very much, Dexter Soprano Lucifer on Instagram. The other message we got for a film talk recommendation was from, of course, our boy, Views by Quinn. He wanted us to talk about our least favorite Martin Scorsese film and why. And I'm like, okay, I could jump into that a little bit. I love Scorsese, of course. But I haven't seen all of his movies. So for me, amongst the smaller group of films that I've seen from him, I'm not a fan of Hugo. I think that's just like, I know it's not a bad movie, but when you compare it to Casino and Goodfellas and Shutter Island and The Irishman, it just it falls by the wayside.
Yeah.
You know, and like I don't think it can compete with it. What about you? What's your least favorite Scorsese movie?
It's hard to say, and I haven't seen all his movies. The guy's made, I don't even know, but a ton of movies. You know what I mean? I'll tell you, he's, you know, I've said this before, but he's made like some of the greatest movies in like every decade.
Yeah.
You know, and he's probably right now the greatest living filmmaker.
Yeah, I would say in terms of legacy.
In his body of work.
Yeah, it's unmatched.
Yeah, no, he's a
Well,
legend.
you told me you didn't love Silence.
Yeah, but that is a good movie.
It is. It's a good movie.
It is long.
That's a
but-
movie where I was watching it. I was like, this is long.
Yeah, no. Sometimes, again, for me, I've always, if a movie was really long, but if I was into it, it didn't feel long. You know what I
That
mean?
one felt long to me.
Yeah, but it's still a good movie. Some movies are intentionally slow.
There was one you told me about last week that you said you didn't like. You said to me like, "Oh, what about this movie he did like in the '80s?"
Oh,
or
like,
something?
well, Kundun. But I said Kundun, but that I
Yeah.
think that was in the late '90s or even somewhere around there. That's a while ago. I mean, I'll tell you. I'll say something controversial.
Sure.
I don't like Departed as much as everybody does.
Hey, you know what? I will second that. I like The Departed. It's a good movie. I don't think that movie's a masterpiece. That's actually one of Frank's favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
He's probably flipping out right now.
Oh.
What do you think of The Departed? It's a good movie. I really like it. But I'm also ruined because I know it's a remake, and I saw the remake first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I know where this is going. I know what's going to happen. And I feel like it's also, again, a little too long.
Nah, I don't. Yeah, again, nah, I like a long movie.
Great cast, though.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Mark Wahlberg fan.
Yeah,
I feel like
Wahlberg,
the same. He's
Baldwin.
the same person in every movie.
Tough guy, yeah, right.
But
Leo Nicholson.
Yeah, no.
But yeah,
it's really good, but it upsets me. I don't know. I always had this weird thing with this movie, this like love-hate relationship, and the hate part of it. I was more like mad at Hollywood about it, but like Martin Scorsese's, you know, like I said, he's the greatest living filmmaker probably, if you really had to answer it, who's alive right now.
Sure.
I feel like he's been on that level since early on in his career. You know what I mean? This guy should have had like a ton of awards by now, and Hollywood finally decided to give him one for The Departed.
Yeah, that was
when
the
he's
weird
made
choice.
so many other movies that were so much better, and I know they're like different years.
Right.
But again, you know, the guy made, I think, in my opinion, the best movie of the 80s, the best movie of the 70s, and the best movie of the 90s. Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, and Goodfellas.
Hey, and that shows you the argument of how great he is. You say Goodfellas, I say Casino.
Yeah, no,
and people always go back to back on those two, Goodfellas and Casino. I personally love Casino more.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't argue for someone who said they loved Goodfellas.
Yeah, no, but you know what? He's like a film historian. If you ever watch his interviews or listen to him talk about movies and stuff like
he's
that,
an encyclopedia.
This guy, yes, he knows. He's talk about movies from the very beginning. He's like seen them all. He knows everything about them, and that's what that movie Hugo was about.
Right.
It was a love letter to like the
Old-
beginning of motion pictures.
While also bringing like new technology to it, the flair of new technology.
What do you mean? In the way they made it?
Yeah, you could tell it was very colorful and CGI. But
Well, you know what?
He
He
was known for
filmed.
that.
Did you know what cameras he filmed that on?
Was the red?
No, he filmed that on those cameras that James Cameron made for Avatar.
Oh, I didn't know
That was like one of the first movies. A couple movies after Avatar used those cameras to film their movies to make them 3D or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was one of them.
Oh, okay.
He was very impressed with that technology. I guess
yeah.
Scorsese was. He was taken back by it.
Yeah, that's why I feel like the movies, the story itself of Hugo is not that great. It's more about a little bit more of the visual spectacle,
Yeah.
and I just didn't love the whole movie.
He's made great movies that I haven't even seen, unfortunately. Like oh my goodness, the one with De Niro where they said Joker was kind of based on, what was it?
Oh, the King of Comedy.
Yes.
I have not seen that one either, but yes.
You know, so Cape Fear was great.
Oh, get Kate Freakin. I think he plays a crazy person.
Yeah,
De
De
Niro's
Niro's
a
great
master
in
of that. All right, so the next question we had was also
We didn't even answer that
Yeah.
question. You can't even answer. It's
so
like
hard.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so views by Quinn. Oh, thank you for the question. He got another question he asked us, where he asked us, what's our favorite director and why? And name their best movie. So I'll tell you this. I'll throw you a curveball. Everyone says Nolan, and everyone says Tarantino, and everyone says Scorsese. And those probably are my top 3 directors. Those guys are just genius masters. But I'll have a little fun with you, and I'll throw you a side shot and say one of my favorite directors, if not the favorite, is Matthew Vaughn.
I know you
out
do
there
like
know
him.
who that's why I said to you before, I'm so glad you mentioned Kick-Ass. Because Matthew Vaughn is a guy that not a lot of people know off by big name. But if you look at the movies he's done, they're all like at least very good.
He did X-Men First Class.
He did exactly. He did one of my favorite superhero movies, X-Men First Class. He did Kick-Ass. He did Layer Cake with Daniel Craig.
Right.
Really solid British gangster movie. And he's done the last two Kingsman movies, and he's making a third Kingsman movie.
Right.
This guy makes.
I've never seen any of them.
Oh, Kingsman's awesome. You should definitely watch it.
Everybody loves him.
So for anyone out there who's not familiar with the work of Matthew Vaughn, go check his IMDb. He makes hits, and they're all awesome films. Danny, are you familiar with Matthew Vaughn?
Apparently I know his film Snatch.
Oh,
no.
I have not even seen Snatch, and I know
No, that's not
a-
him. He didn't direct that.
not him?
No, that
No?
was Guy Ritchie who made Snatch.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes, that's Guy Ritchie. Yes, you're right. Okay.
But he was like connected. Excuse me. Layer Cake.
Yeah.
Those guys are connected.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a big thing for him with doing that.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Sorry
no
about
problem,
that.
No problem, man.
Got
yeah,
excited there.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Like Matthew, I'm telling you. So for people out there, we all know the big names, and of course, I think those other big name guys are superior. But I want to give you one that you didn't expect. Matthew Vaughn is a awesome, terrific filmmaker who makes great films every couple of years. I think he did a movie called Stardust, also, which was a bit of more of a fantasy movie with De Niro. I have not seen that one, but
I've
again,
never
I've
seen
heard
it
it's a
either.
solid, good, fun movie. So Matthew Vaughn, giving him a little hype right now.
Oh yeah, he was a producer on Snatch.
He was a
Okay.
producer on Snatch. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So there you go.
I knew
There's
they
the
came
name.
from like that guy where he came from that whole thing. Layer Cake and Snatch. It's
Yes.
like the same type of thing. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah, it's another one. Okay, so Mike, I will ask you now. Give me your favorite director. Maybe you want to give me a known name. Maybe you want to give me a smaller name. Who's someone out there you love and your favorite movie and why?
Well, I mean, my favorite director of all time is James Cameron.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you're a big Cameron guy.
He's the man. He's the man.
Okay,
every
so-
movie he made, his movies are bigger than any. They've always been bigger.
They're
you know,
the
and once he
definition of tentpole.
Yeah, after Terminator, this guy is brilliant. If you have, he knows. He came from just making like special effects.
Yeah.
Back in the day, he knows how to do everyone's job. That's why his movies. Again, they push like Hollywood forward, like with visual effects and technology and stuff. You know what I mean? Without Terminator 2, there would be no Jurassic Park.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? And basically, two of his movies ushered in like CG, which
Well,
good
yeah.
CG. They even hold up today. I mean, you go back to.
Oh, Terminator 2 is amazing. How much that movie's 30 years old. It holds
Yeah,
up.
no, that movie is that's my probably favorite movie
I was
of
gonna
all
say
time.
as soon as you said Cameron, I'm like, you're gonna say Terminator 2.
Yeah, no,
right?
I mean, like I like things about Terminator 1 better, but Terminator 2 like means so much to me.
I agree.
You know what I
Terminator
mean?
2. You got the tattoo also, and you
Yeah,
love
yeah,
Terminator.
yeah.
So absolutely, yeah, and you love Terminator. Is there a second, just for fun? Was there a second Cameron movie that you'd say is your second? After
Dude,
Terminator?
I think every one of his movies to me are phenomenal.
Right.
The Abyss
I've
is a
not seen that one.
great movie. I think again, even before Terminator had amazing computer generated effects that still hold up today.
True.
That ILM did. This was in '89. This was out in the
I gotta
theater.
go watch The Abyss. That's a movie I've always wanted to go back.
Yeah, watch the
and
director's cut because it explains more. It's like 3 hours long. So,
Yeah, why not?
but both the Terminators,
Aliens. I know you love Aliens.
Aliens is great.
Cameron.
Both those. He's got two sequels in the argument for like the greatest sequels
That's
of
a
all
great
time.
point. Cameron's like the number 2. They call him the 2 because he made 2 sequels that are considered superior than the originals. He's like the master of coming in and doing that.
But consider the greatest sequels of all time. When people say that, like it's hard to say Aliens is superior to Alien.
I know a lot of people that go both ways.
Well, I'm saying like it's hard. They're both masterpieces in
I agree.
completely different ways. It's almost hard to even compare the two movies. You know what I mean? The first one's like a slasher horror movie,
Sure.
and Aliens is like a war movie.
True. Completely different.
But great. And this guy has built the clout and the power to do anything he wants.
Anything?
He made the highest grossing movie of all time. True Lies. This is a movie
I like
that no
that
one
True-
talks about.
I like True Lies.
This movie's a masterpiece. They won't release it anymore because of what it's about. It's controversial or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because terrorists.
But dude, the movie is massive on action. No one remembers it. You know what I mean? But if you watch that movie, the stunts that happen in James
the thing
Cameron
with
movies,
the plane. And the jet,
it's like
oh my God,
unbelievable.
it's incredible.
That movie came out in '94, and it was the third highest grossing movie of the year, an R-rated big action movie.
It was the third. Really?
Only behind Jurassic Park and not Jurassic Park. Excuse me, Forrest Gump and Lion King.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know
1994.
that. Wow.
And then, he goes. The sad thing for me is Cameron goes. I could talk about this forever. I'll try to be quick.
No, it's good. It's Cameron, man. That's your boy.
He takes forever to make movies. And he made Titanic. And Titanic.
I don't even really like Titanic.
Really?
that
Well,
much.
I mean,
I understand what it did, and it's a seminal tentpole film,
Yeah.
as we said.
It's
I don't love. Danny, you like Titanic?
I love
Yeah,
that.
no,
Really?
It's a masterpiece.
I don't love it.
It really is.
I find
really.
it so drawn out. It's so
I worked at a
sappy.
video store when it came out on VHS.
Double
We did-
VHS.
Yeah, double tape, and we did like a midnight sale of it. We were giving pizza out to customers and stuff.
That's awesome.
Oh man, but no, dude, that movie. First of all, it's like the last of like the grand epic movies, like in the vein of like Gone with the Wind, Ben-Hur, like these old classic, big Hollywood productions.
Yeah, Casablanca.
That's the last one. Right there.
I agree with
He
you.
did great. It's amazing. Again, if you watch the behind the scenes footage of that movie, it's amazing that no one died while making it.
Oh, because it was all the water and all the stunt. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, and and then that became the biggest movie ever. That nothing even came close to.
I know.
Until recently.
Yeah, there was talk.
Until Star Wars, when they re-released that hack job. But,
yeah, no, I get you. It's.
And then he made Avatar another like decade later.
I know.
He does like a movie
That's
a
the thing with
decade
him.
now.
He takes so long.
Yeah,
to make
man,
in between his
it upsets me.
You realize Avatar was 2009.
But
We're
this
still
guy's
waiting for 2.
But this guy's brilliant. Like again, if you watch interviews with him, this guy he really is like I think he's a genius.
I think he is. I think
This
absolutely
guy's
is a
like
genius.
diving down in like submersibles that he helped create to like the Mariana Trench in the bottom of the ocean and stuff like that. He has a passion for like all that stuff, and you see it comes across in his movies, like the ocean.
Yeah.
He has a big passion for the ocean.
Oh,
You're going to
absolutely.
see that in Avatar too, because they're setting it like
They're
in
doing
their
the ocean
oceans or
thing,
whatever.
yeah.
And Avatar's biggest movie ever made, and it's
Yeah.
its worst movie, to me.
Yeah, to you. Yeah, exactly. I can see why a lot of people.
Which
don't
is
like
still,
it.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie,
right. It's just of his right.
but dude, the guy,
Least original story.
every movie he made is incredible to me.
It is.
And I wish he would make more.
Danny, do you have a director that sticks out in your mind? Anyone particularly different that is maybe not the normal Cameron Tarantino pick? Do you have someone that?
I think we've talked about this before.
Yes.
My pick would be Kubrick.
Yeah, no,
Who-
he's
okay,
absolutely
Kubrick.
right.
Yeah, another guy, all
No,
time.
this guy, honestly,
Yeah.
like Cameron for me is my favorite director for the reasons I said it, and many more reasons.
Yeah.
Kubrick is the greatest filmmaker ever made, or whoever lived.
Would you say
ever.
The Shining, Danny? Is it Kubrick's best one, or would you go with the
Actually,
2001?
I'm actually a Full Metal Jacket fan.
Yeah,
Oh,
see?
okay. That's another. Hey, that's a great choice.
No, this guy was a master. Like he
2001.
that
Full Metal
the-
Jacket.
A lot of people think Star Wars is the most influential science fiction movie ever made. 2001: Space Odyssey is the most influential. Without that, there would never be a Star Wars.
I don't know if I
Trust
agree
me.
with that, but I would take that argument. I would accept the argument.
It's the
But I
most
think they're
influ-
both. I think they're both right there because the first Star Wars did was so seminal.
No, it was. It was a different thing, but without. I'm talking about most influential
Right.
science fiction film of all time. It's that movie. Without that movie, Star Wars couldn't have happened. Not at that time.
I agree. Okay. I could see that.
Also, the music inspired
Oh, that's true.
99% of what you hear in space or any.
Yeah, that like people who don't even know that movie know that like they hear that music and they're like, oh, they know it, and then you tell them like, oh, that's from
Yeah.
2001. They're like, oh, because
Yeah.
that's how big that music is. That
Yeah.
it's just timeless.
He was so meticulous. Like if you watch behind the scenes stuff or read about him or whatever, and there's tons of stuff which you can find.
Oh, I'm sure.
This dude was unbelievably meticulous about every little detail. He was he started as a photographer.
Really?
Just a regular photographer or whatever. And he's,
Oh, that's why he was so obsessed with framing shots. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I used to see those documentaries of like
He
him
used
like
to-
just killing himself over these frames.
yeah, no, actors would get pissed at him all the time.
Yeah, because they do the same take 50,000 times.
Exactly. He was known for doing tons and tons of takes, but this guy's, he was brilliant. I think the greatest ever.
He's one of. I would never argue that. Absolutely. So, any questions or comments, Danny? Anything going on before we wrap up? All right. So before we wrap up, we'll tell everyone our shameless plug. Come subscribe to us, follow us on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. We're on Instagram. At Movies That Don't Suck with 2 Ks. If you want to listen to the audio of the podcast, we're on every major platform. We're on Google. We're on Anchor. We're on Spotify. Apple, wherever you want to see us. Mike, shout out your Instagram also for people.
I'm just at Mike J. Grassi.
Okay, awesome.
Come look at cool posters.
Yeah, exactly. Cool movie posters,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, last thing before we wrap up, I also want to congratulate our producer engineer Danny. Finished his 365-day beat challenge this week. Hats off to him. So if you want to go see him at Beats by Danny on Instagram, did it, bro. Awesome job. Just want to throw a little shout out to you there. And all right, guys. So we'll see you next time. And until then, we're out. Take care.
Good night. Cool.
Awesome.